Hi, welcome to our channel of IGNOU audiobooks, Indira Gandhi National Open University, School of Performing and Visual Arts, SOPVA, Certificate, Postgraduate Certificate Programs, Certificate in Performing Arts, Bharatnatyam, CPABN, ODN-001 Introduction to Indian Dance Forms, Block-1 Understanding Indian Classical Dances, Unit-1 Indian Classical Dance. 1.1 Introduction. In the previous lessons you were introduced to performing arts in general. You are now able to appreciate performing arts when you have the chance of witnessing any performances. Let us go a little further from witnessing a presentation of performing art to actually presenting it yourself. Here there is twofold enjoyment. Not only will your audience enjoy your performance, but more importantly, you would enjoy the act of creating an art by your body. We have already examined the importance of understanding and appreciating our performing arts. This is very essential for human well-being. The phenomenon of enjoyment can be centered on others, that is, someone else performs and you watch and enjoy the performance. This means that you experience the flow of rasa, the experience of joy or delight arising out of witnessing an artistic presentation. This makes you a rasika, one who experiences rasa. But this phenomenon of enjoyment can also be centered on yourself, that is, you yourself perform an art and derive enjoyment. These observations apply to the art of dance also. You must, witnessed many dance performances. You must have wondered at the expertise of the dancer and the beauty of the dance. This dance performance could be of what we call classical or Kshatriya dance, or it could be a folk dance. As a student of a classical dance style, thus, you should know of the elements that distinguish a classical dance form from a folk dance form. You would have noticed that both are accompanied by music, vocal and instrumental. Both have set rhythmic patterns, both have physical movements which are stylized and away from the day-to-day movements that you perform in your daily life. Yet both are different. Simply stated, classical dance is premeditated, is highly systematized with its own rules for performance, and, most importantly, requires a long period of study under a guru. Whereas folk dance is a simple performance usually performed by a group for various social occasions. A child born in a particular society very automatically learns its folk dances merely by observing the performance and gradually participating in it. Almost everyone of a particular group of people would know their folk dances. Same is not the case with classical dances. Thus, in this lesson you are going to be introduced to the nature of a classical dance, its components, its origin, its history of development, etc. You will be led to the understanding classical dance and appreciating it. 1.2 Objectives. After studying this unit you should be able to get acquainted with the Sanskrit text, Natyashastra attributed to the legendary sage Bharat Muni. Enumerate the facets of the technique in general applicable to all the classical dance styles derived from the Natyashastra. Understand the emergence of contemporary classical dance styles. 1.3 Understanding and appreciating Indian classical dances. The first thing that strikes a beholder about classical Indian dances is the importance of rhythm, tala, and raga in its formation. In fact, one cannot imagine an Indian classical dance without these two elements. Another very significant element is the representation of human moods and sentiments by the way of facial expressions by the dancer. Another very important facet of Indian classical dance is the use of hand gestures, astas to use the correct technical term, for interpreting the words of the song being sung by the vocalist or, as it happens sometimes, by the dancer himself. There is a variable dictionary of the use of astas prescribed in the Natyashastra and the subsequent texts. This facet of Indian classical dance puts it apart from the other dances of the world as well as the folk dances of India, neither having this unique system. One can almost converse by the way of these astas, one can call them the alphabets of dance. You will also appreciate the total control that a dancer has over the entire body. Though Indian dance is, as you will learn, made up primarily of the movements of various limbs of the body including those situated in the face, it is the superb harmoniously balanced movements that create the totality of the dance. And the most ennobling element of Indian classical dance is its spiritual basis. No one can envisage an Indian classical dance without a spiritual base.
You will also be introduced to the fact that though in the past 400 to 500 years different regions of our country have developed and practiced their own special dance styles, almost all have common elements that distinguish them as classical dance idioms. 1.4 Technique in general of Indian classical dance as derived from the Natyashastra. The technique of classical dancing was, in all probability, codified by the legendary sage Bharata in his magnum opus, the Natyashastra, the science of dramaturgy, in about the 5th century BC. This technique basically is applicable to the art of theatre, Natya as per Bharata, but he very clearly includes dancing and music as inherent and basic components of Natya. In fact, Natya of the ancient times is unthinkable without dance and music. Thus, Bharata has not dealt with dancing as a separate and individualistic art. In the later centuries, it is evident that dancing as an art came into its own and became more specialized. Bharata had initially dealt with two arts, Natya, theatre, and Nritta, dance consisting of body movements. But in the centuries after that, a further classification in the art of dance took place as Nritta, pure non-representative dance made up of beautiful movements of limbs, of the body. This type of dance does not convey any specific meaning, nor does it project any emotions. It is purely for the purpose of beautification, by its very nature. Nritta is bound by the concept of rhythm, tala. Nritya, representative dance which is designed to convey meanings by the accompanying emotions. Very naturally, in this type of dance, the face plays a very important role to convey various emotions. The meaning of a song that is being danced is translated by hastas, or hand gestures, into the language of dance. 1.5 The for Abhinayas. Abhinaya is etymologically derived from Sanskrit terms, abhi, meaning towards, and ni, meaning take. It literally means taking towards, which can be understood as taking the performance towards the audience. According to Natya Shastra, the performance of Indian Natya, in its totality, was presented by the means of variegated components like angika, gestures and other bodily movements, vachika, spoken words, ahaya, costumes and makeup, sattvika, depiction of mental or psychological states, i.e., the depiction of rasas. These four components are called the four abhinayas. Let us consider these components in detail. 1. Sattvika Abhinay. This relates to the expression of natural emotions by a performer in response to the demands of a situation. Let us have a look and understand the major terms associated with this Abhinay. Irasam. It is the aesthetic experience which one derives while enjoying an artistic presentation. It is essentially a product of the dramatic art and is not to be found in the creation of nature. It deals with the creation of human sentiments in the spectator or the aesthete when he becomes one with the focus of the dramatic presentation. Bharata has listed 8 basic sentiments, rasa, at the most generalized or universalized level. These 8 sentiments, the Ashta Rasa, arise out of 8 universalized fundamental feelings or instincts or emotions or mental states. Bharata calls them bhagavas or style bhavas, basic mental states, that predominate every human soul. They are, so to say, born with the man himself. This basic mental state is the central and most important phase. This bhava, which is present in the actor-dancer's mind, when represented on the stage by the prescribed technique, brings rasa into existence. Bharata lists the following 8 style bhavas corresponding the 8 rasas. Style bhava and rasa. 1. Rati, love, Shringara, erotic. 2. Hasa, laughter, hasya, comic. 3. Shoka, sorrow, karuna, pathetic. 4. Krodha, anger, raudra, furious. 5. Utsaha, heroism, veera, heroic. 6. Bhay, fear, bhayanka, terrible. 7. Jagutsa, disgust, bibhatsa, odious. 8. Vismaya, wonder, adbhuta, marvelous. B. Sthira bhavas. These are the basic or persistent mental states as they are the source of continuity of a particular state of mind and its actions. An actor dancer's actions arise from a definite state of mind. They are the results of that particular state of mind. It is only when these actions are properly performed that this long-lasting state of mind is realized and appreciated by the spectator. It is due to this sthaya bhava that the spectator understands the correct effect that the drama or the dance piece wishes to create. This sthaya bhava also helps in smooth flow of actions. Siddhya bhavas, these are the transient or non-permanent emotions. They either spring from or assist the basic mental state. They make the basic mental state very clear to the spectator. Bharata lists 33 Vyabhichari bhavas. Devibhavas, these are the determining situation or circumstances which form or give rise to this style bhava. Without Divyabhava there cannot be sthiti bhava. E anubhayamas, these are the resulting physical movements which rise due to the establishment of the style bhava which is assisted by its Vyabhichari bhavas. These resulting movements pertain to the entire human body. This way, may say that the Sattvika Abhinaya is brought forth by Angika Abhinaya. F. Sattvika Bhavas, apart from this Daya and Vyabhichari Bhavas, Bharata lists a third category which he terms as Sattvika Bhavas. Bharata lists 8 such bhavas which can be described as involuntary reaction in an actor-dancer whose mind, sattva, is completely concentrated on the given artistic situation. These bhavas cannot be commanded to appear at will. They are natural physical reactions which accompany a dominant state of mind. Thus, in a tragic situation, tears would very naturally flow, or in a happy or joyous situation there would be thrill, tremors, or in everyday language there would be goosebumps on the body. The Sattvika bhavas are 1. Sveda perspiration, 2. Stambha, paralysis or getting stunned, 3. Ashra, tears, 4. Vavarnira, change of color, 5. Swarasan, change in voice, 6. Pralya, fainting, 7. Romancha, horripilation or thrill, 8. Kampana, trembling. 2. Angika Abhinay. Angika Abhinay relates to body movement and the expression of meanings through different actions of the aims. In dance this Abhinaya is the most important factor. Bharata has divided human body very scientifically into 2 major parts. 8. Angas, major limbs, 6. B. Upangas, minor limbs, 8. 8. Angas. 1. Shira, head. 2. Rasta, hands. 3. Vaksha, chest. 4. Partial, sides. 5. Trika or kati, waist or hips. 6. Pauda, legs. B. Upangas, these are situated entirely in face, inclusive of the neck. 1. Tara, eyeballs. 2. Kuta, eyelids. 3. Brow, eyebrows. 4. Nasa, nose. 5. Gandam, cheeks. 6. Adhara, lower lip. 7. Chibuka, chin. 8. Greva, neck. To this list, later scholars have added the following. 1. Bhujamala, shoulders. 2. Hanujaws. 3. Dishana, teeth. 4. Jihada, tongue. 5. Mukha, the face itself. 6. Galfar, ankles. 7. Anguli, fingers and toes. Other later texts have added one more limb of the body. C. Kritingas, these are the supportive limbs of the human body. 1. Skanda, shoulder blades. 2. Bahu, arms. 3. Prishta, back. 4. Vidara, belly. 5. Uru, thigh. 6. Jangha, shanks. 7. Manibanda, wrists. 8. Kopra, elbows. 9. Janu, calf. 10. Griva, neck. Bharata further specifies and classifies the movements of the Angas, Upangas, and the later scholars specify those of the Pratyangas. It is also laid down how and where and for what purpose each of these very large number of movements are to be utilized. 3. Vachika Abhinay. In dance, this abhina deals with the songs to be danced, sahitya, which are usually sung by a singer who does not dance, and the swaras, musical notes, of the raga being employed, also by the singer. It would also include the rhythmic patterns recited by the dance teacher, guru or natabana, which is accompanied either by the cymbals, talas, he plays, or the percussion instrument, the drum. In an expanded manner, it would also include music created by all the other members of the orchestra, Vadya Vrinda, like the veena player, the venu, flute player, and the violin player, and other instruments that are in vogue. For Ahara Abhinay, this abhina deals with the use of costumes, jewelry, facial makeup, etc. Bharata has prescribed definite rules and specifications for jewelry, dresses, etc. to be worn by different types of characters. But it must be remembered that dancing is full of physical movements which are very vivacious and expressive of feelings. Thus, in dance the costumes should be such that they permit unhampered movements. It is also to be remembered that Bharata himself permits different provinces of the country to employ the types of dressing and jewelry worn according to their own traditions. Bharata is said to have compiled the Natya Shastra sometime before the 2nd century BC. Some scholars give 5th century BC as his period. In the millennia that followed Bharata, the concept of dance being an integral part of Natya underwent gradual changes. By the 11th or 12th centuries AD, dance emerged as a very independent and well-established performing art, no more functioning under the shadow of Natya. Indian classical dance 1.6 Classification of dance. In the later centuries, when the technique of dance emerges as a distinct form, it becomes apparent that dance utilizes drama as one of its aspects in the same manner as Natya or drama utilizes dance. Similarly, in the later years, dance comes to be further classified into Tandava, vigorous, and Zasya or Sukumara, gentle, types. Again, the Natya Shastra does use these words but not in the manner of this firm classification. The 4th chapter of the Natya Shastra, dealing exclusively with dancing, calls it Tandama, probably as emanating from Tanda, who was instructed in dance by Lord Shiva, and Zasya, which is mentioned as Lasyanga in the chapter 20 dealing with the Dashupkas, 10 types of dramas. But the later writers very definitely give the twofold division into Natya, Nrita and Rita on one hand, and Tandama and Lasya on the other hand. But whatever the era and its classification, the components of the technique remain the same. 1.7 The two main components, form and content. In the Indian context, dancing has two components. Dance. One form which is tangible, i.e., which is seen. Two content, which is intangible, i.e., which is not seen. In Indian dance, both the components are necessary to convey to the viewer that dance is taking place. There is form, that which can be seen, but unless there is some sort of mental motivation, it just cannot be sustained. Similarly, there can be most overpowering mental or emotional motivation, the content, but unless there is its manifestation by way of some physical action, it cannot be felt or realized by the viewer. Thus the form of dancing would be the three abhinaus, Angika, Vachika, and Aharya. The content is the fourth one, Sattvika. In the form, we would include Nrita, but in Nritya there are both form and content. These two logically consist of the entire human body and its different movements. 1. 8. Emergence of regional dance styles. There is a freedom granted to different regions of the country to develop their own dance practices as per their own traditions regarding the mode of dressing, speech, customs, habits, legends, agriculture, animal husbandry, and other pursuits of livelihood. These vary from region to region in India, which is actually a subcontinent. Even in Bharata's times, there were diverse practices present in different parts of the country. As time passed, these diverse practices became more and more well established, and eventually by the 16th century AD, there emerged very well defined dance practices. But all these dance styles followed the dicta laid down by Bharata and later scholars in principle. These diverse practices were regional and further developed in their regions only. Thus, today these dance styles are flourishing in their respective regions, though abiding with the ancient rules. Thus, though they are different, they have a good deal in common, and the entire practice is enjoyed and venerated all over the world simply as Indian classical dance. 1.9 The classical dances of India. Today 8 such regional practices are recognized as classical dance styles. 1. Bharatnatyam from Tamil Nadu. 2. Kathakali from Kerala. 3. Kathak from Central and Western India. 4. Manipuri from Manipur. 5. Kuchipudi from Andhra Pradesh. 6. Odissi from Odisha. 7. Mohiniyattam from Kerala. 8. Satiriya from Assam. Thank you. Subscribe our channel for more updates. We will see you with the next chapter.